So, hello. So, our next guest today is the amazing Callaghan, who was telling you a little bit about her. She trained as a homeopath, specializing especially in the treatment of children, and also taught homeopathy before going on to produce her amazing indigo vibrational essences, designed then to help adults and children to make it through the huge shift of consciousness that we are experiencing on the planet right now. So wonderful things there. Looking forward to hearing all about it.
And I've had the pleasure of working with you, Anne, on a couple of rather special journeys where essences are concerned, and your energy is wonderful. And one of the things I'd really loved when we were working with energies, because we looked at bigger pictures, didn't we? We looked at different ways of bringing that energy in, and one of the things that one of the areas that you are pretty switched on about and know a lot about is feng shui, and how we can put our live in a particular way to bring certain energies through. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and have you always done this? Has it been a journey? Nice woman.
Well, thank you. First of all, thanks very much for having me on. I love the color magenta. It's my favorite color. And it's all around the house. I've got magenta towels, magenta bathrobes.
Oh, wonderful.
I feel right at home. So yeah, the journey, I trained to be a classical homeopath and specialised in the treatment of children, and I was the director of the Irish School of Homeopathy. And I thought I'd be doing homeopathy for the rest of my life, actually. And then in sort of the late 90s, I was introduced to making essences, and I absolutely loved the process. And I started making essences with rocks, with minerals, which at the time was relatively unusual, because the best known essences are, up until that point really, have been made with flowers, like the batch flower, the bush essences. And I introduced, because I was a classical homeopath, I didn't really know what I was going to do with the essences, because classical homeopaths are very stuffy and we only give homeopathy. And so I just left the essences on a table in my practice room, and children would come in, and if they wanted the essences, they would go straight to them and take them. And that's how I kind of developed a way of working with them. And then the line evolved. It was not a plan, I suppose you could say. But the thing that I had been aware of from the beginning was that we were going to go through some kind of massive change of consciousness. That's something that I felt probably most of my life, that something huge was going to happen. And years back, if you'd asked me 30 years ago, I would have said it would be just baby Buddhas and, rainbows and unicorns and everything be fab. But here we are in the middle of COVID. And, realizing, what?
Definitely not a unicorn year.
Not a unicorn.
No. No.
Oh, but there might be babies.
What?
There may be babies coming out of this.
Maybe. Maybe, indeed. So I think one thing that we've, that we've all realized is that this transition is a bumpy one, for all sorts of reasons. And those of us who've been involved in healing ourselves and letting go of our fears for a long time, at least that gives us a bit of perspective on what's going on. But I think it's really, really difficult for people who are just, who are just waking up to things now. There's a lot. If you don't have a context for the chaos, it can be very, very challenging. So what I wanted to talk about today, because because everything out there is so chaotic and the energy is very challenging. I wanted to talk about how we can make our homes into a sanctuary, into a safe place, and how we can, you know, how we can nurture ourselves, because that's, we need to have somewhere safe to come back to. We need to have somewhere nurturing to come back to regroup and refocus, ground, and nourish ourselves.
Yes,
Definitely.
And you can do that so easily with a combination of, you know, just feng shui is actually just the art of conscious placement and becoming aware. I studied feng shui with I suppose people would call it the Western system, with a woman called Karen Kingston. It's very simple. It's called, other people will call it intuitive. It's, you know, it's much more, it's a simplified version of feng shui. And it's simply about becoming conscious of the space that you inhabit and learning how to change it so that it nurtures you and that you feel good in the space, because that's what matters. And I have a short presentation here that I'd like to share with you.
Yeah, wonderful.
And I'll share the screen. Okay, so the art of creating a space that nourishes you. I tried to find magenta orchids, close but not perfect. Orchids are one of the, they're such fantastic and beautiful, exotic and high frequency flowers. I do love to bring them into a space as well, because they have this, they live between heaven and earth. They have an extraordinary vibration and they're very beautiful.
They are. They're
So,
very, and that just on that point, because the art of being kind to yourself is bringing, oh my goodness, I mean, that office already sends me into absolute chaos. That picture of the office, but just by putting flowers there, being kind to yourself brings you back into the moment, doesn't it, a little bit? So no, but that's, I think flowers are so important in your environment. But yeah, I'm looking at that office, Anne. Is that your office? Is that what it was? I know what it was.
I know. Well, now this wasn't my office, but to all of you out there, the last time I had a call with Jane and Fiona, my office looked a bit like that. I was in the middle of taking everything apart. So the first step is really to evaluate the energetics of your space, and that simply means to like stand back and see, wow, how does this space make me feel? Do I feel comfortable? Am I able to expand in this space? Looking at this office here, I feel overwhelmed. I feel there's too much going on. I feel that somebody in there is just overwhelmed with work. And many of us are now working from home too. So we have to learn how to make a very safe, calm, nurturing workspace, despite perhaps the workload that you might be getting. What I realized here when I took my office apart was that I had a load of old paperwork, really, really old pieces of paper that aren't necessary now. They were just clutter. So one of the first things that you do when you evaluate your space is you clear the clutter. And some people are really good at keeping clutter clear, and other people let it build up. I'm relatively okay, but I have to check myself every now and again. And everything you look at, you just say, do I love this? Does this uplift me? Does this make me feel good? Is it useful? And if it isn't, get rid of it. Because having things around you that either you don't like or that are ugly and annoy you actually put a drag on your energy. For instance, having broken machinery, having something that every time you pass by it, you go, oh, I must do something about that. That is taking your energy. Every time you walk by, you go, oh, I should do something. Oh, that's taking your energy. Similar, if you have a plant that's, the number of times I walk into people's houses and they'll have a plant that's pretty much dead. And that's not great energy to have around you either. You know, have things that are really beautiful and that cause you to expand your energy. We contract our energy when we feel fearful or we feel uncomfortable. And out there in the world at the moment, with the masks and the fear that's going on, a lot of people are walking around with contracted energy. So you want to be able to come home to a space where you can expand into the space, you can expand your energy. Okay, so if you've got a lot going on, you probably need to decide on an area to change, because it's too much to say, what area I'm going to do the whole house right now. And that can be overwhelming. So this diagram here is called the Bagua. And this is a chart that people who do intuitive feng shui use to map out the areas of their house that relate to areas of our lives. And with intuitive feng shui, it's very simple. You would just align this chart with your front door. And that shows you where the different areas, the love area and the money area, are the ones that most people pay attention to the most and often need the most attention. The center of the house is you. It's the home, it's the heart, it's your health. The right-hand side is help from, it's like helpful friends, people who will pop into your life. Those of you who are starting a business, for instance, you are going to need people to pop in and say, oh, I love what you do. Let me promote you, or, you know, stuff like that. The left-hand bottom corner there is your spiritual life, your connection to your raw consciousness, your higher self, if you like, whatever terminology you want to use. But that is how you connect beyond the physical. A lot of people would put a kind of meditation space there. That's the ideal place to have a connection with meditation.
Can I just ask something? Can I just stop you for a second? So when someone's looking at this, we're taking that as the house as a whole.
Yeah.
Can you break that down? Maybe someone is living in a bed sit, or lives in half the house, or has a room in a house. Can you bring that down into individual areas that you're living in?
You
Also,
can,
it's
absolutely.
first or second floor, isn't it? Ground
Yeah,
floor.
you can apply this to a room. You can apply it to a desk. You can apply it to any space, in fact.
Yes.
It's almost like fractals.
Yes.
So if you're just living in one room, you can apply that to the room. If you're living in a ground floor, you can apply it to the ground floor or the upstairs floor. Only, I would say, ever change what you are in control of, if you like. So you don't start doing work on somebody else's space, because that's not up to you.
No.
So if it's a shared space, you either need to work with the people you share with, or just on, concentrate on your own space. And in one of the things that you can do is just have a sit and a feel into what area of your life. If you want to decide on one area to start with, just feel into love, creativity, helpful friends, career, your spiritual life, your family, money, and fame, and see which one of those areas do you really want to boost. And then go to that area in your space and take a really good long look at it and see, how is it? Does this reflect me? Do the objects in here feel good? Do they uplift me? You can find lots of information online about simple feng shui cures, for instance. So it's a journey that you can go on if you're interested. And I find it really, really useful because it does help you to connect. Our living space is an extension of us. So this helps you to bring your consciousness out to what surrounds you, and just really take a good look at it.
That's also another art of being kind to yourself, isn't it? You may be living in a fairly chaotic house environment. You may, as you know, we've been using an analogy across a few of our conversations where we're looking at mothers with, you know, really frantic lives with a couple of kids and a husband who wants them, but they might have an area, even if it's their own bedroom, where they have control over something. They might not have, or in their own kitchen, or somewhere where I mean, we all have a little bit of a space. And in this way, this is a way of being kind to yourself. So how can I make that space a little bit more softer, kinder to what I want in there, rather than having PlayStation stuffed in the corner there and a pair of dirty old shoes and things like that, you know, kids' toys that I stab my toes on as I go across. It's bringing you back to the now, isn't it? Thinking about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good point, Jane, because especially now with a lot of people still in lockdown, you may have more people in the house than usual, and that can make the house feel kind of claustrophobic, depending on the size of it. And it is important to claim your space. And even if that's a table, you know, if it's a corner of your bedroom, it's a space where you consciously place things, and everything on that space means something to you. It's like making your own altar, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
And here is such a space, you could say, the art of conscious placement. So when you've cleared the clutter, cleared out all the stuff you don't need or the stuff you don't like, the stuff that's broken, stuff that belongs somewhere else that you want to give away, then you decide what you're going to reintroduce to your space. And these are objects that you consciously decide, I'm bringing this in. There's a lovely unicorn head there, for instance, and a bit of greenery, and a very lovely, this is not a fancy spot, you know, it's not all bedecked with crystals and God knows what. It's a working space, but it's a very inviting working space, you know. And these objects have been placed there by the person who's going to sit at that table very consciously. And this is, all of us should be able to claim at least one space like that for ourselves.
I can identify with that hugely, especially in an office. In my office now, it might not, you know, look much to somebody on the outside, you know, when we go back to being kind to ourselves. I shared this space with Tony, and it was all, we had it set up one way, and I set it up that way, I have to admit, originally. And in fact, I think it was when we had been together as a group in France, and we talked about the Vaudois, and I came back and I stood in the office door and I thought, I really don't like this setup. And so again, it was like Tony's face. It was like, here we go again. She's changing the room around. But I kind of looked in it and I thought, right, there's my door. I'll look in the left-hand corner, which was, you know, about love. What do I have? And of course, I've now got my Buddha, I've got the green man up there, I've got everything that symbolizes for me what love is, my crystals, my essences, a beautiful painting that a friend did. And I've kind of shifted things around so I can, it's things that people can do now. They don't need to spend money, or in fact, you're using what you have, isn't it?
Exactly. You don't need to spend any money at all. You just, if anything, you're just paring stuff out of your life rather than going out and buying loads of stuff. Because we can all go out and find some, you know, beautiful leaves at this time of the year. And in the Northern Hemisphere, it's autumn going into winter. And there's some, you know, just bringing in something of beauty and placing it in your space. You can find stones in the beach. You can, you know, there's all kinds of things that we can do to enhance our space without spending money. Another thing is just, one of the things that we are kind of poor in, if you like, at the moment, is beauty. And when you see something beautiful, it has an effect on your energy. It makes your energy expand. You know, when you see something beautiful, you go, look at that. So I feel it's really important to bring beauty into your space, things that you find beautiful. which, you know, that's not across the board, but it's stuff that you find beautiful. What I find mohair rugs. See that mohair rug? When I started out on my journey making essences, I got myself a huge pink fuzzy mohair rug. And that was my like meditation blanket. It was my, you know, when I'd go and I had a meditation shed in the garden. It was insulated and everything, but I used to go there with my pink fuzzy blanket, and I just loved that blanket because, you know, this is again, it's about connecting us with our environment through our senses. So when you touch, we all, you know, some people love sheepskin rugs, some people love, you know, velvet. There are different tactile sensations that we enjoy. Very good to have natural fibers and natural products around you rather than plastic and, you know, concrete and so on. I've already said about clearing out dead or dying plants, but it's very important because you want to emphasize vibrant life in your space. Introducing colors that uplift your spirits, and that again is a very individual thing. I'm so drawn to magenta pink. I've, you know, like I say, I've overdone it a bit with the magenta pink, I think, in my house.
You can't overdo it with magenta.
Yeah. Another thing, of course, are scents that make you feel good. So having a little diffuser or a spray or something like that you can just introduce, or just even smell a bottle and let it transport you. It's very important to bring beauty in to all of our senses. And then natural fibers that make you want to touch them. Yeah, silk and linen and wool and, you know, materials like that. We do live in a very, very inhospitable world. Those of you who have to go out and work in commercial buildings, you know, offices, schools, they have, most of them are really, really badly designed when it comes to feng shui, for instance. They have dreadful lighting, that strobe lighting. They have plastic everywhere, nylon carpets. There's a buildup of static electricity. Very, very, very inhospitable energetically. And these are things, you know, that you, if you have to go and be in an environment like that, you want to be able to come home and decompress in an environment that actually, that your energy body feels comfortable in.
So you all take something there with you, like at the plants.
I was just about to say that. Yes, in my previous life in the corporate world, in a very, you know, sterile big office with tube lighting and just a really unhealthy place, I had a plant on my desk, and I used to have, because I used to get chilly because of the AC, I used to have a shawl, and it used to be soft shawls, so that, because I like softness, I don't like abrasive wool. I like to have, you know, Angora or something like that, which is really, really soft. And just take it. Oh, I have my essences on there and my crystals on there, and yeah, I was known as a bit of the wicked witch of the West. I was known that you start to build up who you are, you know, to have a bit of beauty in a rather very sterile world otherwise.
Yes. Yeah. And I'd also like to say, just to say to people who might work in open plan offices, that if you are very sensitive, try and make sure that you get a desk with your back to the wall, because our backs are very vulnerable. And if you are hypersensitive, you will be on constant alert if your back is exposed. So that's something that I do think is very important for people to realize. If you are in an open plan office, make sure that you are protected, because this is another of the Feng Shui principles, is to make sure that you're ideally placed in a room so that you can see your back is protected and you can see everything around you. Okay. bring in crystals for protection. I have my great big tourmaline sitting here under the computer. That there is the tourmaline, by the way. And the two bracelets, I think, are hematite and pyrite, more than likely. Again, it's the times we're in are tricky. And it's important that we keep the energy of our spaces clear and that we have very firm boundaries about what we allow in our space and what we don't. And you can program crystals to clear a space, clear and protect a space for you, to maintain a clarity in your space. And that again is another way of taking the work off your own energy body, if you like, because the crystals will do that for you. You just have to ask them.
They don't have to be expensive either, do they? You don't have to spend a small fortune on a huge crystal or anything.
No, tourmaline is a really reasonable crystal. I don't know what this will cost, but it's not a fortune by any means. And here we have rose quartz, which is not expensive either, and is very typically known as the stone of love. Yes.
Beautiful stone.
Lovely.
Yeah, I have mine too behind my computer.
Yeah. Soft and gentle and feminine. And it's a lovely stone too. This is a sort of an altar arrangement, you could say. And the yeah, it's a lovely stone to put in a place like that too. Oh, also the candle, a very useful thing to have, to light a candle, to have a flame, to have, because you're bringing in the elements. With the candle, you have the fire, and that's a very important thing that's missing from a lot of our houses. If you don't have a fireplace, the element of fire can be lacking. So yeah, very important to have that because it's purifying, it's energizing, it's primal, it connects us on lots of different levels.
Does it have to be a proper candle, or can it be like you can get these artificial candles with an artificial light on it? Does it have to be actual flame? Because obviously for health and safety and children and that malarkey, we have to be a bit careful, don't we?
I know we do. Personally, I love a flame, but then I'm a Leo, fire sign, I suppose you could say so. So it's very important to me. You can burn a stick of incense.
Yes.
Because that's another way of changing of bringing yourself. If it's I have some gorgeous Tibetan incense, and if anytime I light that, I'm immediately transported to, it just takes me into meditation straight away.
Yes.
Other people, for instance, might like to have the energy of water in their space. There's a lovely, you can get very, very lovely kind of little fountainy things for your desktop that sound like you're sitting by a running brook. And that
something. Yes. I have something similar myself, and yeah, if you don't have the propensity to want to keep running to the loo every time you listen to it. So you can use all these elements, because what I'm sounding is like you're bringing in the 4 elements into your space as well. How you know, again, it's sensual, isn't it? It's the senses what gives you that.
So it's bringing you into your physical body, connecting you, enlivening the senses, because that's another thing that happens, especially in this COVID world, is that at this point, we're about 9 months into it, people are kind of deadened. I'm seeing that around. People are very cut off and isolated and, you know, downhearted, I suppose is another word for it.
Yeah. Lost a bit of hope, haven't they? They feel hopeless or vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of feelings like that. So anytime you're out in public, you will be picking up these feelings from the collective. So in a really good way to kind of ground yourself in the physical body and enliven your senses is to connect with each one, you know, to connect with touch and scent, you know, smell, and then just do a little conscious, even if you're not into meditation, you can just sit there and just breathe. And that does a lot to ground and center you again. And now I'm going to talk a tiny bit about the value of introducing essences into your space. Essences, this particular kit, the combinations, I call them a first aid kit for feelings. And it's very, very useful to have, say for instance, you had a row, and there's that kind of, you know, that kind of post-row energy in the house, and it's a bit edgy and it's not very comfortable. People are tiptoeing around. Well, you can diffuse that energy by putting some essences into a bowl of water and letting the essences permeate the space. There's one in here called Chill, which is absolutely brilliant for that. And you can also make it into a room spray with the addition of basil oil. So it clarifies the space and releases any stuck emotion that might be hanging around. In the Indigo range, we have like about 80 essences at this point. And you can use any essences for this. And I would really encourage people to go out and investigate essences, because they are wonderful tools for changing the energy of a space. Again, you just have this, you know, intuitive connection. When you look at a range of essences, something will jump out at you and you'll go, yes, that's the one. I really need that one. And then you can simply put it into like that little bowl there. It doesn't have to be a great big bopping crystal bowl or anything. Just put some water into a bowl. And again, it's a conscious thing. You put some drops of the essence into the water and ask that this essence permeate your space. And it does a wonderful job of just releasing unstable energies and stabilizing the energy of both you and the space that you're in. Oh yeah, so great for space clearing. You know, if you walk into, therapists, for instance, can use essences consciously in their therapy rooms, in between clients, to clear the energy of the space and to reset it for the next person who's coming in. Absolutely brilliant. Can't recommend them enough.
And I think
combine
also with someone maybe sitting at home thinking, there are just so many essences out there and so many producers who are doing this. What do I choose? You can do that quite sensibly in your own environment. So someone who might be a lay person who doesn't really know much about it, if they've got Google, the fact they're watching this, they're obviously got a computer and they're online. So, you know, it's a possibility. If you're looking at certain flowers in your garden and why you're drawn to those particular flowers and the color of those flowers and perhaps the shape of those flowers, they can then drill that down, go onto the internet and think, why am I so drawn to roses at the moment? What is it about roses? I wasn't drawn to them like 3 months ago. I seem to be drawn to them this month. There's a message there that's waiting to be given to them. So if they invested in that rose, and they will, you know, they can go on to all sorts of people's sites and read up what the rose essence does, and then they can pop it into, you know, a bowl in their, wherever it is, I mean, perhaps in their love corner or something of their room, just to permeate that space as well. So there's all these little kind of tidbits that people can use, can't they, that doesn't cost money, maybe takes them off a little journey to go and find out a little bit more. So you're being kind to yourself, because sometimes we have to work at being kind to ourselves, which might involve going to a bit of kind of trawling on the internet a little bit as well, or to talk to a therapist as well. Find somebody to have a chat with. I, for one, know your essences are wonderful, Anne. So, you know, especially the combination ones, they're brilliant.
Yeah, the combinations were designed initially for children, but actually they work really well for inner child work as well. Yes. And we all have that to do in spades, usually.
I love the magenta one, no fear.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, that's really moving out there at the moment. A lot of people need that one.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to finish with just a quick word about the magenta pink essences, because we do have a range of my favorite color. They were originally called the magenta pink. They're now just called the pink because, you know, it was just a long name for them. But I just want to draw your attention to this one, number 6. Essences to help us really love all parts of ourselves whilst letting go of our old, outdated understanding of what self-love is about. And when that essence came in, I just thought, what does that mean, really? And then I discovered, because I almost got divorced, it is about not losing yourself when you're in relationship with others. It is about looking after yourself, because the more you look after yourself, the more balanced and healthy and stable you will be, and the more you can look after other people. Very often, particularly women, are programmed to, you know, that love is doing everything for everybody else, and then you have got nothing at the end of the day. You're just wiped out. And that is not what it's about at all. So we must ensure that we look after ourselves, and we nourish and enrich and, you know, balance ourselves. And once that's done, then we can help loads of other people.
Absolutely. We've got to follow up ourselves, haven't we, first?
It is, and it's interesting, I think, with, you know, with the various women, you know, the different speakers and the women that we've been talking to, Fiona, that is the theme that's coming through, that we are programmed as females to give but not to take.
Yep.
And so therefore, you know, we have forgotten the art of being kind to ourselves, and we've forgotten the art of taking time out, whether it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour, or getting rid of the kids for a whole week, which would be wonderful, I'm sure, for some mothers thinking, give me a week's holiday. But just the art of being us, looking after us is an art form in itself, and one that needs to be learned. And you know, you've shown us how we can do that in, you know, with so many different small ways, without lots of money, or, you know, going outside or having to, you know, travel around the world or anything like that. We've got it at our fingertips. We just need to know how to use it.
Yeah.
I think it's lovely.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
I'll stop sharing now. Yeah.
All right, that's great.
That was lovely.
Thank you very much, Anne. That was so wonderful. I just want you to, so that we can just finish very quickly, because I'm aware of time. Just tell the viewers about that wonderful lady that's sitting behind you on your surface. Who is she, and what is her energy? Because she's important today, and I just have a feeling there's a message there for somebody listening.
Okay, this lovely lady is Kuan Yin. This is a representation of the goddess Kuan Yin, goddess of compassion. She's not fluffy at all. She's very, she's not one of those pushover goddesses by any means. She's, if any of them are. She's often seen riding a dragon. She is, and sometimes she's sort of androgynous as well. Sometimes she's almost represented as a male. So she's very much about this coming together, which is magenta as well, coming together of the aspects of the male and the female into perfect balance. So she has been very connected with the Indigo Essences for a long time now. Yeah, I do enjoy her presence. So you have a connection with her too, Jane, do you?
I don't have a connection with her, no. I just feel that there is, I don't know, I think she's coming more into the fore at the moment. I seem to be more aware of her through other people talking, or she's obviously wanting to be needed. But I think, you know, what jumped out at me there was about the fact that she can be seen as androgynous. Therefore, there is the male and the female, the right and left brain, the sensual side and the being stuck in the moment side, and there's the being kind to yourself. So she's representing the being kind to yourself. But your talk and your chat with us today has shown two sides. There's the being the nurturing side, the essence side, the you know, bringing how you can have lovely areas, but there's the feng shui side, which is also a bit more of the yang side. It's a bit more structured, you know, you've got squares in each of the rooms, and I just feel that she brings in that balance, and it is okay. It's okay to be both. You know, we don't have to always have male energy in our systems. We can be female and nurture ourselves. I think
Yes.
the message
Yeah, balance has become one of the most important words, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To balance ourselves and the world around us.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, we have depleted the yin energy in ourselves by, and I, you know, not to go on a political rant about it necessarily, but I do think that feminism went the wrong way. That, you know, we are biologically different, males and females, and we have different needs and we have different expressions, and we were never going to be the same as, which is what, you know, the old feminists, what, you know, sort of drove that notion that we could be just the same as men, and that we could have a baby and show up in the boardroom the next day, which is just
absolutely not what we need.
The way it is. So, you know, when I was in full-time practice as a homeopath, I used to see these absolutely exhausted mothers, and they just come in and collapse on the chair, and, you know, they'd taken a holiday day off work to bring their sick child to see me. You know, they're essentially doing two jobs. They're being mothers and out there in the workforce full time as well. That's not okay.
No,
balance has to be balanced.
Has to be balanced. Yeah.
It's really an important word for us all to consider now.
Yeah. It's all areas, isn't it? Being in balance.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all of it. It's all balance.
So lovely, lady. How can people find you?
We have our website, www.indigoessences.com, and also a Facebook page, Indigo Essences.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, all of that information will be put below the video, and so everybody can contact you, and also the gift that you're offering too. So you'll have the link and everything to that. And thank you so much. It was really fascinating to listen to you. Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you. It's fun.
Yeah. and love the magenta. So.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Definitely that one.
All right. And thank you very much. And we'll be in touch again soon, I'm sure.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.